Pfizer acquiring weight loss drug startup Metsera for $10 billion. This following a battle with Ozempic maker Novo Nordisk. Pfizer has also recently partnered with the federal government to bring most favored nation pricing to those with Medicaid, aiming to lower drug costs for Americans all across the country. And not to forget, we're coming up on the 6-year anniversary of the COVID-19 pandemic. Under CEO Albert Bourla, Pfizer partnered with BioNTech to start developing its vaccine in mid-January 2020. By December, the FDA had granted emergency authorization of the vaccine. Over 5 billion doses have been distributed globally. For a deep dive on keeping the world healthy and what the future of medicine looks like as AI takes over, Dr. Albert Bourla, Pfizer Chairman and CEO, joins me now at Invest. Good to see you.
Very good to see you, Brian.
I can't believe it's been 6 years.
It is. Yeah, time flies.
Time flies. Let's start on some more news over the past few weeks. You had that battle with Novo for Metsera. Why is this asset so important to Pfizer's future?
First of all, why obesity is important, it is the question, and it is because we have the right to win in this space. We are a company that basically we made the primary care market. We are a company that we know how to run big, global, complicated trials with a lot of people in vaccines or cardiovascular. We are a company that know how to manufacture at scale. You mentioned COVID before. And we are, of course, a company that we have a field force that is ranked #1 consecutive in the last 10 years in the US, particularly the primary care field of it. So we have anything that is needed for us to be successful in obesity. Unfortunately, we didn't have a portfolio not because we didn't try, but because our 2 lead assets a year ago both failed one after the other. So now we have the portfolio. And why Metsera? We looked because we wanted to enter into the obesity market in Europe, in China, in US, in Japan, everywhere. And we couldn't find a portfolio as advanced, as high quality, as differentiated as the portfolio of Metsera, which is why we tried very hard to acquire them.
Within that portfolio, what are they working on specifically?
Yeah, they have a GLP-1, which is basically the likes of Mounjaro or of Lilly, that will be a weekly product, and has very good tolerability profile. But also they have a GLP-1 which is a monthly, and this is highly differentiated. I don't know anyone else that is so advanced in a monthly GLP-1 product. They have also an amylin, which is the new mode of action against obesity that has already presented several very impressive data. And they have it again as a long-acting, a monthly amylin injection. And then they have a combination between the two, monthly and GLP-1, of which I have seen very recent data and looks very, very promising. So those are the injectables. And they have, in addition to that, a set of orals, both amylin and GLP-1s. Usually in the orals, peptides, you need to take them with empty stomach, so you can't eat after you take the medicine for some time. That restriction will not exist with that because those peptides are so well formulated that they don't need that. So highly, highly differentiated. In our hands, I think another very strong competitor will emerge.
You're talking about some serious innovation here. When do products like this hit the market, you think?
I think if we move fast, in 2028 we should hit the market.
Would that make Pfizer the leader in the industry?
Look, we think that our leading position will be in oncology in the near future. I think in obesity we will play to be a leader as well. And we are leaders in vaccines.
Of course. You know, there's been some folks saying Pfizer overpaid for this asset, but I would say they're not thinking about it the right way. You're viewing it as a long-term play, standing up a new business. Is that right?
Absolutely right. And it's not also how much we paid, it's how much we plan to invest. And we plan to invest to win in that space. We are going to follow a very comprehensive, very broad, very deep development plan that will hit not only obesity, but also several comorbidities around it.
When you're in a battle like this, like you have been with Novo, does purchase price even matter?
Yes, it matters, and I would be happier if we could get it in the originally agreed price. Sure. But the most important thing in these acquisitions is, does it work or not? Mm-hmm. If it works the investment big time. If it doesn't, then you overpaid.
Of course, you know, the last time I saw you We all watched you at the White House, standing with President Trump, focused on bringing down prices, drug prices in this country. When will consumers be able to see that?
I believe beginning of the year, we should be able to have implemented all these changes. It is the big discrepancy between affluent countries, rich countries, and the US in terms of drug pricing was provocative and was not sustainable. And we knew that the genie is out of the bottle and is not going back in. I think the way that the president envisioned it and eventually the HHS negotiated, particularly the Medicare part of it, they found a plan that can become realistic and can leave behind us this situation. And that's exactly what was reflected in the 4 requests of the President Trump, and we fulfill all 4 of them.
Why are drug prices still so high?
Because we have, in the US, we have a specific situation that the consumers are paying for their medicines like if they don't have insurance, although they have, and it's a very good one. That's not the same when they go to hospital, that's not the same when they do MRI, but with medicines, they have very high deductibles and very high out-of-pocket co-pays. That is a unique situation here, this middleman. Of course, also, medicines are expensive to make, and the cost of developing drugs is getting higher and higher and higher, and that also plays a role. But the consumer experience pricings that on average are double than the prices that we charge in the US.
You work with, of course, with President Trump rolling out the COVID-19 vaccine. Now this latest on helping to bring drug prices down. What are the differences you see in him, and why do you think he's so focused on lowering prices?
I think lowering prices was also on his mind, very high on his mind in the first term. And he made several efforts to be able to address that issue. The difference in this second term, he is more experienced in managing the government, and he is very, very determined. And you may disagree with him or agree with him, but he's a disruptor. He changes things that people thought you can't change.
Is there lots of focus on Mr. Kennedy and his views on vaccines. Those views, do they provide any long-term risk to a business like Pfizer?
Look, not long-term, because we are not going to go back to Pasteur times, right? Vaccines have saved the world and will continue doing that. In the long term, it's the most cost-effective medical healthcare intervention. Now, I interacted a lot with Bobby Kennedy and the secretary, and after he got elected. Clearly, that was not going to be my choice for HHS secretary, but it's not my choice. It is the president's and it is the Senate's, and he got confirmation, and I try to work very constructively.
Do you weigh in with your recommendation with the president? Do you weigh in or
No, I don't. No, of course not. But the president makes his own decisions. But I found my collaboration with him in many, many areas very productive. And a good example of this is the HHS agreements that we did now, that were announced in the White House. On vaccines and on some scientific ways regarding FDA approaches, etc., we have very big disagreement. But we discuss with that, and I prefer that we spend more time working on things that we agree rather than working on things that we disagree, because the things we agree are many and very important, and we can agree to disagree on the others.
Does the pharma industry still need China? How reliant are we still on China to get key components to make drugs? And I want you to talk a little bit about your investments you're making in the United States, because you're spending billions of dollars in this country.
Yes. I think there are a lot of medicines that are dependent from China right now. Pfizer doesn't have any dependency from China. We don't export from China anywhere in the world, and we don't import in the US anything from China. So we don't have ourselves this problem. But we have a very major manufacturing network in the US already. We have 11 manufacturing sites and 2 gigantic logistics centers, 13 in total, in this country. A lot of them in the South and in Midwest. They are the locations. We're very happy with the quality of production that you can get, the quality of the people. And now, based on the agreements that we made with the organization, we are going to invest more in manufacturing and, of course, more in research in this country. And we committed $70 billion.
$70 billion.
$70 billion of investments in the US alone over the next, let's say, 3, 4, 5 years. And I think that one of the good examples is that we will build the manufacturing capacity for Metsera here in the US so that we will be able to provide the US patients from US produced anti-obesity drugs.
I want to leave a little time for AI. We're having a lot of great, interesting AI chats here at Invest, talking to several folks on how it might impact retail. But how do you see AI impacting the future of medicine?
I think it will be a profound impact. I think there are things that AI is ready to do now, and we are taking big advantage of that. AI cannot do everything, but I think it can do today more things than most companies are utilizing. I think the name of the game will be how companies will be able to integrate into the processes, into their operations, business processes and operations, the AI. And that will be a challenge, as with every new technology, but it is disruptive because it will change the way that we work, will create anxiety to people, there will be resistance and all of that. So we have a very open and educational session with our employees. We make sure that they are well trained, they understand the language of AI, they understand what they can do with AI, and we see that instead of resisting, they are inviting AI to come in. But there are things that technology cannot do yet, but they will. And this is where the most exciting things in drug discovery and development are coming.
Where do you think the next big breakthrough is, and will AI have a part in it?
I think target identification means to identify what is this site of the cell of the cancer that creates resistance to medicines, and you have metastasis as a result. This is something that AI, we do now with biological science. AI can help us do it faster and better. Once we know the target where we need to hit, we need a medicine to do that. And AI can design medicines and molecules that they can fit that target much faster and better than our own thing. And I can go on and on. For example, we are testing right now a lot of things in animals to make sure that they are safe before we use them in humans. A lot of that can be replaced in silico with models that they can have very accurate prediction of how the molecule will behave in terms of toxicology, pharmacodynamics, etc. Clinical trials. So it's so big, the spectrum of things that can happen, and so exciting.
In the time that we have left, Albert, this is the first time you and I have talked, but I've been following your work
That was a big mistake.
I know, right? I agree with you, but I've been following your work for years, and I still remember when I saw that first photo of the COVID vaccine coming out or getting sent away or sent out from I think it was a UPS trailer, whatever it was.
Yes.
I think it takes a special leader to lead during a situation like that, and of course, the past few years haven't been easy. Like, what is it about your personal story? Like, who are you as a leader, and why are you, and how have you been able to overcome these challenges? What drives you, I guess?
Look, I care about what we do, and I'm very optimistic. If there is something about me as a leader that it is on the very high end of the spectrum, it is my optimism. I think that nothing is impossible, and I try to convey that to my people. Sometimes that can lead to mistakes, and that's why I always surround myself with people that they are not optimists, so that they can land me to reality.
Where does that optimism come from?
I think comes from the story of my mom, that she is a Holocaust survivor. She was set in front of a fire squad, and the last moment they pulled her out because her relatives paid bribes, to Christian relatives, by the way, that paid bribes to Nazis so that she will not be executed. And she kept, the Holocaust survivors, they don't speak about those things, what they endured, because it's painful or they're afraid. My mom did, and he was talking to me always about what happened to her, but always with, not in terms of we need to hate, we need to take revenge, look what they did to us, never like that. He was ignoring Nazis. She was talking how her rescue was a celebration of life, that nothing is impossible, that she was in front of her firing squad and she survived. So she wouldn't allow me to go and complain that I can't do my homework. Go and do it, she would tell me. Sure. You can make it. I think that is what gave me most of my optimism.
Thank you for sharing that story. And this is a good example why I love having this event. Dr. Albert Bourla, good to see the work you're doing over there at Pfizer. We appreciate it. Thank you for coming down here.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you very much.